Hey guys, Decimate here with another video on Raid Shadow Legends, and today we're going to be talking about uncommon champions. Those green border bastards you've probably sent to the chopping block thousands of times already without a second thought, and without actually even looking at what they did. I know that's what I did for months and months and months, until a video about Armiger came out and how useful he could be for Spider, and so I leveled one up and he got me through Spider, and also helped out in Fire Knight, and he's still 100% viable in in-game dungeon teams. So that kind of opened my eyes to what they could do, and I've always liked to level up less used, less common champions just to see what they could kind of do. And recently there was a leak or a data mine that gave us some information on the Doom Tower, and apparently there are going to be secret levels in the Doom Tower that do require the use of uncommon champions. So I'm not going to say that you need to go out and 60 a bunch of uncommon champions right now. I think that Plarium will probably end up putting those secret rooms that do require uncommon champions towards the beginning. So they should be a little easier. That would be kind of an asinine move even for Plarium to require a team of 5 6-starred uncommon champions to get those done. But I guess we never know. Wouldn't put it past them necessarily. But yeah, there are some that are actually pretty decent other than Armiger. Zephyr Sniper might be another one that people know of. But there are a couple others that I'd like to go over today that might actually surprise you. So let's jump into my champion pool here and take a look at who I've got, who I've leveled up for better or worse. And maybe some of these might come in handy for you as well. Alright, first up is going to be Armiger. He's probably the most well-known of the uncommon champions that actually sees serious gameplay. And he is mostly going to come onto your team for some turn meter control, and he does that fantastically. It's going to be on his A1, so it's very consistent, and he decreases turn meter by 30% for every crit that he gets. So you do want to make sure you max out his crit, so that that's always going to land. And his damage is proportional to defense. He's a defense-based champion, so he's a little easier to keep alive than, say, in a lure. And then his A2 actually has an enemy max HP hit on it. It doesn't hit as hard as, say, a Cold Heart, Royal Guard, Septimus, but it does hit really hard if you pump up his crit damage by quite a bit. And it also blocks revive, so you can also see some play on Ice Golem. If you get lucky and he kills one of the minions, the Ice Golem won't be bringing that one back, so he can be useful in basically any dungeon other than Dragon. He's not really going to see any play in Dragon. Also, for the final stages of Faction Wars, he's fantastic. Turn meter control on that boss is really good. I used him all the way up to 21. He was on 20 team as well, and yeah, he's just incredible for an uncommon. Let's look at how I have mine geared. I don't have mine in the best gear. I think when I originally was using him as kind of a spider turn meter controller, I did have his defense and crit damage higher, so that he was putting out a little bit more damage for me and taking a few more hits. But this gear was enough to get Faction War 21 done. And that's the main place I use him now, is Faction Wars. I still do occasionally use him for Spiders and Ice Golem, and occasionally Fire Knight as well, just if I'm kind of like trying to help out somebody with a team that they're working on. He's still great for that, and he can come into anybody's teams and probably do some serious work for you. So I've got him in an accuracy set, defense chest, crit rate gloves, speed boots. He's got a crit rate set on there and also a speed set. So he's going a little bit slow. I would probably want him to be going a good bit faster than this if I was going to use him all the time. His crit rate's a little high, his crit damage is a little low, and again that defense is a little bit low. He's got plenty of accuracy to land those debuffs, the turn meter control reduction that is, and that's the main thing you want him to do. So you absolutely have to have your crit rate and your accuracy maxed out to the level of dungeons that you're going to be fighting. Masteries, I did not fully master him. It wasn't really necessary. You could definitely get some more utility out of him by taking War Master down here for boss fights, that kind of thing. That would be very helpful. And then for books, he is fully booked. As an uncommon, he just takes rare books, so that's not too difficult to get done. And that is going to be Armiger. Fantastic champion. I think that he will have no problem coming into whatever the Doom Tower throws at us. And he is definitely worth a 60 if you're struggling in any of those dungeons, especially Spider. He's probably the best in Spider, but he's good in the other two I mentioned as well. Next up is going to be Zephyr Sniper, and she's probably the second most popular uncommon champion that I see getting a lot of playtime after Armiger. And she's usually played in a spider tank role. And for that role, you typically want her to have low HP, lowest on the team at least, and high defense. She is a defense-based champion, so she can definitely take a hit. And she will basically be using her A1 here, which is an AoE, in a lifesteal set to heal up after taking all the punishment from the spiders. And it's good to have some counterattack masteries on here. You want to come down into Retribution with her and grab this one, so she has a 50-50 chance of counterattacking when she loses 25% of her health. And then it's also pretty helpful to have a counterattack champion in there as well, just to help her keep her health topped up. But she can definitely do a great job as a spiderling tank for you. And my use of her is going to be a little different. I'm actually going to use her as a control champion and utility champion instead. She is in the stun set now, not lifesteal, and this gear isn't rolled up, so I'll definitely be working on some of this the next artifact event. But I do want to have her in that stun set for the AoE on her A1, and it's also got a reasonable chance of increasing skill cooldowns on all enemies that it hits by a turn, so that could come in pretty nice on some dungeon waves. And then she's also got a continuous heal, it's a small version continuous heal on her A2, which is pretty nice as well. So that is going to be Zephyr Sniper. You can definitely bring her in if you've already got one leveled up to 60. Maybe you used her as your spiderling tank back in the day, or are still using her as your spiderling tank. She would be a great option for the Doom Tower. Even in the lifesteal set, she could be great. You could kind of use her in the same role. Just make sure her health is lower and she'll kind of suck up a lot of the damage for you and then heal back from it. But I think a Sunset will be pretty good for her on Doom Tower with that AoE A1. Definitely want to get her speed up a little bit more. Crit rate I'm not too fussed about just as a control champion, but would be nice to have a little bit more of that. And then I might consider bumping up her accuracy to over 200 just so that she is getting the chance to put those skills on cooldown as well. So that is Zephyr Sniper. She's in the Barbarians and she is a pretty good uncommon. Next up, we've got a slightly less well-known uncommon here in Commander, and she is at level 50, and that's probably all I'm going to level her. I don't think she needs to go to a 60, but she's fantastic at level 50, and my clanmate, the Needless Mage, actually used one at level 50 to complete stage 21 of the Bannerlords. So that kind of shows you how good she can be, and as to why that is, we can take a look at her A2 here. Heals the ally with the lowest HP by 40% of her HP, and completely fills the target's turn meter if the ally is fully healed. That's kind of the kicker there. So you can't actually choose who to heal and turn meter fill with this, but she will do this on cooldown every time it's up, and whoever has the lowest HP on your team, if everyone's at max HP, it will go to them. So basically you can kind of plan around that and just have somebody that you want to be cycling through their turns faster, have slightly lower HP than everybody else, and they're always going to get that full turn meter fill. And it's also just a huge heal if somebody actually does need it. So really great ability there. And she does have a small chance to place a stun here on her A1. It's a little difficult to bump up her HP super high for that heal and get her speed up and get her accuracy up at level 50. If you did go ahead and 61, it would be a little easier. So a little harder to take advantage of both the stun and a big heal, but it can be done. I need to work on some of this gear here. Again, I'll probably level some of this up in the next artifact event. But she does have great base speed for an uncommon especially, and then her other stats at level 50 aren't great, but that's kind of to be expected. I did bump her HP up by quite a bit, but I will end up throwing some more levels into these two, and she's going to have a huge health pool at the end of this. And that's basically what you want to do with her. Super high HP as fast as you can get her, and you're not really worried about damage out of her, so you don't really need crit rate or crit damage. Accuracy would be nice if you can get both the HP speed up and also work on accuracy a little bit. That would be helpful. If she does land a stun, that's just kind of an added bonus. So that is going to be Commander. And again, if you're struggling with Bannerlords, absolutely 50 one of these. Try that out. Next up is going to be Satyr, another very underutilized champion. He is really helpful for the Skinwalkers though. And I actually used a level 50 Satyr, as did the Needless Mage, to complete Skinwalkers 21. Didn't really need him before that, but he's really good for the boss fights, and that is due to his A2 as well. So it's a 4 times at random, which on the boss fight is always going to go to the boss. and each hit will decrease the turn meter by 15% if the hit is critical. So again, max out his crit, and that's a ton of turn meter drop. He's almost like a mini Allure. This is on a 3-turn cooldown, but you can kind of speed that up a little bit by using a reflex set like I've done here, or by using Relentless. When I used him on 21, I believe I had him in a Relentless set instead of this reflex set, but this works out pretty well as well. And he basically just needs to be going fast, he needs to be tanky, and he needs max crit. He does need accuracy as well, so he's a little bit more difficult to gear than Commander, because he kind of wants a bunch of different stats there all at the same time. I could definitely do with some more speed on this one, and hopefully I can mess with some of this gear a little bit and get him going a little faster. He does have way too much crit rate here. I could drop some of that down. But on him, I just went with crit rate gloves, an HP chest with some defense on it. Be nice if this had some speed, but my reflex gear is kind of lacking, so that is not going to happen. And then speed boots. And then up the top here, we've got some level 8 gear. Those might be swapped out for something else. We shall see. But that is going to be Satyr. And again, you don't need to 60 this guy. I just liked him so much after seeing what he could do on Faction Wars that I ended up 60ing him for fun. And he's actually pretty decent at Fire Knight as well. I'll show you a run with him in it for Fire Knight with some rares and other uncommons after a little bit, once we're done going over the rest of them. But you do want to book him out so that you get the cooldown, and the damage isn't that important, but you could just stop there at the cooldown if you wanted to save some rare books. And then I just went in and fully booked him. Again, it's just rare books. And this does have a chance of putting out a decreased speed for you as well, which again is helpful in boss fights and helpful for the waves. So, masteries, I didn't really fully master him. This was enough. I just grabbed the crit rate, crit damage, and then went in for some accuracy as well to bump that up a little bit. That is going to be Satyr, and he is a great turn meter control champion for the Skinwalkers and can be pretty good elsewhere as well. Next, let's take a look at Dervish here. Dervish is very niche. I don't know if I'd actually bring her into the Doom Tower, but she's worth mentioning as an uncommon just because she has the highest multipliers in the game on her A1. Each hit is going to have a multiplier of 4.6, and it's a 2-hitter at random. Just to give you some comparison, I believe Draco's at about a 3.5, and everybody knows how hard his A1 hits. So really crazy for an uncommon. Her A2 is also really high multiplier. I think it's an 8.2 on this. So she hits super hard, especially for an uncommon, but she does have insane damage potential, and there are some videos of her out there one keying Ultra Nightmare and just putting up some crazy numbers. I think it was Murder Inc.'s video where he had her alongside of his Draco, and she only did a couple million less damage than his Draco overall, and that's with Draco having all the poisons too. So, crazy champion. Her A2 is going to be a 2-hit at random and have a chance of putting out the small version of decreased defense, so not a huge deal there. You're probably not going to build her with accuracy to try to land that. And then the A2 can land a heal reduction. Again, not really important, especially for her main role, which is probably going to be Clan Boss. That said, you could possibly bring her into some other dungeons and have her deal some crazy damage for you there as well. As far as gear goes, I just kind of had her in a lifesteal set here so that she could farm 12-3 by herself, which she did pretty quickly actually. For Clan Boss, you'd want to switch that out and just put her in pure damage gear and bump her crit damage and attack way up. She does have max crit right now. Like I said, I wasn't worried about accuracy, mostly just focused on damage, and getting that in a lifesteal set was a little tough. I didn't want to steal anyone else's stuff, so I just kind of put this stuff on her for now. But I will at some point test her out in an unkillable team and see how that goes. She's definitely a fun champion. I wouldn't necessarily recommend leveling her unless you just want to do it for fun though. She's definitely very niche, and it's just more for you know, seeing how much damage you can get out of an uncommon on Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. For masteries, I haven't fully completed her yet. I will be getting these last couple of levels for her in the Minotaur as I complete this, and I'll definitely be coming down here into War Master for her since I'm going to use her on Clan Boss, and then over into the counterattack mastery here also for Clan Boss. So that is going to be Dervish. Wouldn't recommend her for Doom Tower, but she is a really fun champion, and it's just crazy to see how much damage an uncommon can put out. Last but certainly not least, we've got Shield Guard, and he's probably my favorite out of the bunch. One of my favorite champions that I've leveled up recently in general, and he is incredible for an uncommon, and he's pretty good even for any level of champion, to be honest. He's got a passive, which removes the debuff from him each time he gets a turn, which is kind of like a Skull Crusher. So to see that on an uncommon is pretty nuts. And then his A2 is definitely his bread and butter. He's got a AoE here that's going to fill his turn meter by 20% for each critical hit. So if you attack an entire wave of enemies, that is going to put him back to 100% turn meter, and he's just going to go right in with his A1 and take another turn. So that is a crazy ability, and his A1 also has a chance of putting out decreased speed for you. Probably not going to focus on this too much. You don't really want to build accuracy on him just for that, but you do want him cycling through his A2 into his A1 and then back to his A2 as quickly as possible. So for gear, we're going to focus on defense. He is a defense-based champion. Speed and crit rate and crit damage. You do need some HP on him, but not super necessary. You don't need to bump that way up as long as you've got some other support in there with him. But with a different gear setup here, I could definitely get way better stats out of him. I did choose a stun set for him, and a lot of my stun sets are tied up on faction war people and just other non-uncommons, so he's not getting the best gear that I've got here. But, you know, decent stats, nothing too crazy. This isn't like insane streamer gear or anything. He's got 3,500 defense, max crit rate, and 120% crit damage. So definitely a lot of room to grow there. He could be dealing way more damage than he is right now, but I do want to use him primarily as a control champion, and damage is a little bit secondary. But this gear is kind of the minimum I found. I didn't level anything up past this point, but this is about the minimum I found that will farm 12-3 the fastest. And believe it or not, this guy is actually capable of putting up 5-second times on 12-3. You do have to get a little bit lucky with mastery procs for that to happen, but we'll take a look at those right now. And basically the proc you need to happen for a 5-second time is going to be Cycle of Violence. You need this to proc to reduce that cooldown on his A2. But even if he doesn't get any of those, it's still going to be an 8-second farm, which is pretty crazy for this level of gear. There's lots of uncommons, or lots of rares and epics that don't farm that fast in way better gear than this. For instance, my Skull Crown, who I've used as a farmer forever, she was such a pain to get enough damage out of her to be able to one-shot all the waves. Needed way crazier stats than this to be able to one-shot all those waves, and he does it no problem in this gear. So let's just take him into 12-3 and give him a test run. Take that dwarf out of there, grab him, and we'll just grab some food as well. So don't listen to people that tell you not to play with your food. This guy's amazing. Continue. There's the A2. There it is again. There it is again. So 7 seconds that time. He didn't one-shot that last minion there on the third wave, but pretty good time nonetheless. You can see this best time of 5 seconds. That is from him. That is not Skull Crown. Skull Crown, I think the best was 6 seconds. So he actually beat my Skull Crown farm time by a full second. Just do it again here, so you can see that one wasn't a fluke. There you go. So if I put a little bit more damage on him, that last Shazar there would always go down. And I would probably do that at some point, but just for demonstration purposes, you can see 6 seconds is not too shabby. So yeah, that is going to be Shield Guard, and like I said, he's awesome. Would I say go out and level up a Shield Guard as your farmer instead of somebody else that might be more useful for you in all areas of the game, like a Bellower or something like that? Probably not, but he doesn't need that crazy gear to be able to put up those times. For instance, if you look at Skull Crown here, she can one-shot all the waves, but she's got 5,500 attack and 228% crit damage. So like about double the stats of the Shield Guard there to get that done. So crazy champion, really fun, and we'll be seeing him again. I'll probably do a Fire Knight run next, and you can see what a team with him and, let's see, Satyr, and then we'll throw in some rares with them as well and see how they do. Alright, here we're at the Fire Knight. We'll leave Coldheart in there, take out these legendaries, who needs those, and we'll put in some uncommons and rares. We'll go with Apothecary. He's the man. I have a feeling that people are going to drop, so we're going to throw in a Reliquary Tinder as well, and then we're going to have Satyr in there for turn meter control, helping Coldheart keep that down once we actually do get to the boss. So that'll be the team. Let's give it a shot. We're just gonna let it run on auto. Probably be a little smoother if we didn't run it on auto. I could actually choose what they're gonna do, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Coldheart's already down. Off to a fantastic start here. There we see 2 stuns out from the. Coldheart's down again. 2 stuns out. Another stun out from Shield Guard. Another stun out from Shield Guard. Got 2 down now. This is a problem. See if we can recover. You can kind of see Reliquary Tinder is so important here. Apothecary is not in great gear. Coldheart definitely is really low on defense. So hopefully we'll be able to make it through this. Ooh, close. More stuns out there from Shield Guard. Three stuns out from Shield Guard. This Coldheart's back in there, getting a little more damage out for us. Should speed it up a little bit. Almost through this wave. Wave 1 down. This one's definitely a little tougher. 1 stun out. Be nice to see a couple more. That would be helpful. Alright, there we go on that arrow. That's really helpful. He hits like a truck. Just see how often Shield Guard is doing that A2 though. Almost every turn he's doing it, so 2 stuns out for him now. There's the decreased turn meter ability there from Satyr. Keeping him locked down a little bit. Not as effective in the waves as it's going to be on the actual Fire Knight here in a second, but you can see that it still is coming up pretty often with that reflex set on. And he is doing some work for us. Not a ton of damage, but is definitely keeping those turn meters down even in the waves. And you'll find as you kind of pare down the waves to 2 or 3 people, whenever those random turn meter hits, like on a lure, also go off, they become way more effective than when you've got all 5 up still. Almost through this one. Looks like everyone's gonna make it to the Fire Knight alive, which is good. I'm sure Coldheart will blast off her Heartseeker at the wrong time when we do get there, but we shall see. Maybe not. Looks like it might be up at about the right time here for us. Get it now? No, not gonna get it now. So, didn't keep it broken that time, unfortunately. There's the Heartseeker at the wrong time. That's what we were waiting on. Beautiful. I think we might... Ooh, no, no. She isn't relentless also, as you just saw. 3 turns in a row there. So that was kind of clutch. Not necessary to have her in relentless, but it is really nice for something like Fire Knight to do that. There was the decreased turn meter from Satyr. See how much that chunked off his turn meter there. Decreased cooldown on that from the reflex set. You saw that. And there's the Heartseeker again. There's Satyr's decreased turn meter. And at this point, we might be safe. We'll see if the Fire Knight actually gets another turn or not. He might just make it back. Yep. It's alright. Back down again. this point, I think we're looking pretty good, and I think they're going to get this done. Does get another turn. He's got some poisons out there. I believe Reliquary Tinder is in a toxic set, and that's where these extra poisons are coming from. They are the small versions. Cold Heart is throwing out a couple normal poisons for us as well. Shield Guard is just kind of doing some damage for us here now. He's not doing a ton of damage. Like I said, I don't really have him in super crazy damaging gear, but you know, he's mainly there for the waves. And Satyr is kind of stealing the show now. So 5 minutes, not awful. Definitely seen a lot worse. When I was first trying to get this dungeon done, I was using way better champions than this and having a lot more trouble than that. We can go in and look at the gear on these other champions as well. I don't think any of them are in super crazy gear. So Reliquary has about 3k defense, pretty fast, and nothing else really. Pretty healthy HP pool there. And then yeah, she is in that toxic set. And then we've got, it was the Cold Heart and Relentless it looked like. So horrible defense, not even that great HP either, to be honest. Pretty good speed and a lot of crit damage and plenty of accuracy there. So that's the Cold Heart we used there. And then Apothecary, also sitting around 3,300 defense, pretty good health pool. That could probably go up a little bit as well. Not too much crit or crit damage on him, obviously, and then no accuracy. And very fast. He's, what is that, 135 there he's sitting at? So, or 235. You'd definitely have him going a lot faster, and that would go even smoother. But yeah, so that's a team. 3 rares and 2 uncommons doing Fire Knight in 5 minutes. So hopefully that kind of gave you an example of what these uncommons are capable of. Not even in that crazy gear. Again, this isn't unattainable streamer gear, and I think that a lot of people out there can probably get a little bit better damage out of this guy in different gear as well. So hopefully this was enjoyable. I have a lot of fun making these uncommon champions do crazy things, and you know, for the Doom Tower you're going to need some of them. Again, probably level them up to 40 or 50. That's probably going to be plenty. If you do enjoy them, these are some good ones to take all the way to 60. And I hope everybody got a little bit out of this, and maybe we'll start playing with their food more often. But yeah, have a good one, and if you like this, like and subscribe.